Hey guys, it's James from the Lore Masters here, back again with another deck profile, and this time it's all about Tinkerbell. So what we have for you today is Steel Amethyst Midrange, featuring Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. So I've spent the last couple of days kind of trying out different deck lists and different colours, and this is the list that I've finally settled on. I've been playing quite a fair few games of it and kind of got an idea for what people are playing and kind of how to counter it as well. So what you see in front of you is what I've kind of settled on. So I'm going to kind of go through each individual card and why I've chosen it and why it's good for this particular thing, so stick around. Okay, so here's the deck list. So we'll go through it. So the first thing is Captain Hook Forceful Duelist, one of the strongest 1-drops in Steel. So it has Challenger +2, so when it's challenging this character gets +2 attack. So it goes to 3 attack, so it can get rid of 3 toughness characters. Very handy to have. Very handy especially if you're going second, because this guy can generally beat anything your opponent is going to be playing on turn 1, but even late in the game this card is handy just to kind of trade up. Yeah, absolutely play 4 copies of it in any Steel deck that you play. Okay, next is Pascal, Rapunzel's Companion. While you have another character in play, this character gains evasive. If you're going first, this is generally what you're mulliganing for, because you generally want to see a copy of this plus another character on turn 2. This character has lost a little bit of power now that Tinkerbell has become a thing, because Tinkerbell does 1 damage to everything when it comes in. So any kind of Pascals that you've got are fortunately going to get killed by that. So you don't want to rely on this too much, especially when you're going against Steel, because chances are you will see a Tinkerbell and you'll lose them all. So if you are going to be putting it on your board against Steel, only generally kind of play the 1, because you still get a fair few lore points early on in the game, so it's still worth playing. Okay, next is we play 2 copies of Simba, the Returned King. So it has Challenger +4, so while challenging this character gets +4 attack, and it has an ability during your turn this character gains evasive. The reason why we're playing this is since is it Pongo? Yeah, Pongo his name is, got revealed, green-red evasive has become very popular. This deck really struggles against it because if you don't draw the right removal cards you need in terms of fire the cannons and smash, you're going to have a bad time versus that deck because your characters cannot interact with theirs. So we generally play this just so we can fight the evasive things. Annoying thing is getting it bounced by Genie, but the plus side of that is Genie comes down on turn 6, this will come down on turn 7, so you can generally attack the Genie because it has quested by that point, but it means that we don't completely get destroyed by the evasive deck. We can actually fight against it as best we can. Okay, so next thing is Elsa, Snow Queen. So she has the ability Freeze, so you can exert her to exert chosen opposing character, which means that you can make your opponent's characters vulnerable. This works well with all of our rush guys because we can attack them. It works really well with Tinkerbell Giant Fairy because we can make their weakest thing vulnerable, attack it with Tinkerbell, and then do the damage from Tinkerbell, which you'll see in a minute, to another character. But yeah, it's just to keep your opponent's stuff in check and make it so you can do favourable trades over your opponent's things. Very good card. Okay, so here's Baby Tinkerbell. So it just has the ability, you can exert her to draw a card and then choose and discard a card. We very rarely use this ability. If we do, it's nice to get rid of some uninkable cards in your hand, but generally she's only there to play on turn 3, so you can go into the big Tinkerbell on turn 4. She's got a nice toughness stat on her. 4 is very difficult to remove without kind of going into combat, so that's nice. Okay, so next is Captain Hook, Captain of the Jolly Roger. So when you play this character you may return an action card named Fire the Cannons from your discard to your hand. If you're playing Steel, you're playing 4 copies of Fire the Cannons, and you're also running between 2 and 4 copies of this guy. The reason why we're playing 4 copies is we run the 1-drop Simba, so if we do see him early and we don't have Fire the Cannons, we can discard him with the Simba and just draw a fresh card. But when you do see Fire the Cannons early, you just want to continually pick it up with this guy and just keep removing your opponent's threats. Very, very good card. But yeah, the only, like I say, downside to him, if you draw him early without Fire the Cannons, or your opponent shuffles back your Fire the Cannons with Magical Broom, then he's a little bit dead. But worst case scenario, he is just a 3 attack, 4 toughness, 4 drop. Okay, so we play 2 copies of Beast Hardheaded. So it's a 5 drop. When you play this character, you may banish chosen item. So nice and simple. It's a 4/4 as well with 2 lore points. So the reason why we play this is in a mirror match, especially a Steel Amethyst mirror match, you now kind of rely heavily on Beast's Mirror when you're getting towards the mid to the late game to keep your hand not so empty. And if you play this, you remove your opponent's mirror and then they can't play the game. They're just going to run out of resources. If you've got your mirror, you're just going to just out advantage them over the next kind of couple of turns. So it's important to be able to kind of remove it. You can also remove Lantern in Stitch decks. You can remove Pocket Watch in any Amethyst decks that play it. If any Sapphire decks are playing Coconut Basket, you can get rid of that. It's just, a useful card to have. If you're not playing against a deck that's using item cards, you can just ink it. If, come worst to worst, it's a 4/4 with 2 lore points, so you can just play it. Okay, next is Maleficent Sorceress. So it's a 3 drop, it's 2/2. When it enters play, you may draw a card. I've spoke about this card many times in my deck profiles. Anytime I'm playing Amethyst, it draws a card, so it replaces itself when it comes in. It's also a target for friends on the other side. If you're playing Amethyst, you should be playing 4 copies of this card, together with 4 copies of friends on the other side, just because it's an incredible draw engine to use. So yep, get your 4 copies. Okay, so 4 copies of Rafiki Mysterious Sage. So it's a 3 drop, uninkable with Rush, with 3 attack and 3 toughness. Very useful if you're going second, because you can generally kill whatever your opponent plays on turn 2 by playing this on turn 3. Works very well with Elsa, so you can exert something with Elsa and then play Rafiki and run over it. It's just a very nice thing to kind of have, just to have that rush option in your deck. Okay, 4 copies of Simba Future King. So when you play this character, you may draw a card and then choose and discard a card. Very handy to filter your draws, because like I said, if you draw the 4-drop hook early and you don't have Fire the Cannons, you can get rid of it. You can play this on turn 1 and discard a Fire the Cannons to your discard, and then on turn 4 you can play the 4-drop hook and pick that cannons back up for a nice little +1. But mostly he's just dig deeper into your deck, get to the bits that you need. But yeah, it's worth kind of playing just to kind of, for the consistency reasons. Okay, which brings us on to Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. So she reads Shift 4, so you can pay 4 ink to play this on top of one of your Tinkerbells. So we play the 3-drop Tinkerbell. Got the ability Rock the Boat. When you play this character, deal 1 damage to each opposing character. And during your turn, whenever this character banishes another character in a challenge, you may deal 2 damage to a chosen opposing character. So for those who are not fully aware, when you shift onto a character, it copies damage and also its ink status as well. What I mean by that is, if the version that you're shifting onto could attack, this card can attack as well. So when it comes in, you can then do 1 damage to your opponent's board, then attack something, and then trigger its ability to deal 2 damage to something else. You can also use Elsa to exert one of your opponent's weak characters, attack over it with the Tinkerbell, and to deal 2 damage to something else, which you can then kind of increase with Smash or Fire the Cannons, or just send one of your weaker guys in. It's completely up to you. It's absolutely crazy amount of pressure to put on your opponent on turn 4 by dropping this card. Absolutely love it. It's kind of one of the strongest cards in Steel now. Make sure you get your copies when this card actually drops. Okay, so that's all the characters. There's 40 in total. So we'll go on to the action cards. So you got 4 copies of Fire the Cannons. So deal 2 damage to chosen character. Nice and simple. It is uninkable. But chances are you're going to be using this every single game and multiple copies of it. You can pick it back up with the 4-drop hook. Nice to get rid of kind of small characters or just to finish other characters off. Like I say, pair it with Tinkerbell as well. You can remove bigger characters. If you pair this with Smash, you can generally get rid of some of the more annoying characters, so Rockstar Stitch, Aurora Dreaming Guardian, to name a few. Also Brave Little Tailor Mickey, they can get rid of that as well together with Smash. But it's nice to be able to have a cheap removal so you don't have to get rid of everything in combat. Which brings us on to Smash. So deal 3 damage to chosen character. Really simple, but this one is inkable, so if you don't need it you can just ink it. Nothing much more to say about this. It's still relevant in the game. There's lots of free toughness things that this will get rid of, but pairs very nicely with cannons to do 5 damage. Okay, so 4 songs, which is just 4 copies of Friends on the Other Side. A character will cost 3 or more can sing this song for free, draw 2 cards. Like I say, very good with the free drop Maleficent, but we do run lots of different free plus characters. So if you're not wanting to attack with them that turn, or you can spare a quest for the turn, you can just sing it for free. If not, you can just pay the free ink and just draw 2 cards. You know, having cards is your key to winning at the end of the day, so drawing is never going to be a bad thing. And finally is Beast's Mirror, which we play 4 copies of. So it has the ability Show Me, which you exert it and pay free ink. If you have no cards in your hand, draw a card. I just wanted to spend a little bit of time just to talk about this card and why it's so impactful. So the reason why it is so good is it allows you to aggressively build your ink with very little punishment. So the point is you can be inking every single turn and you'll eventually run out of cards. And this card allows you to kind of then pay that free ink to draw a card, play a threat, and then next turn you're going to be drawing for your turn. You can play that, or you can ink it, and then play Beast Mirror, pay free, draw another card, put something down. So it means that you're building up your ink as well as playing your threats. So when you're getting towards the end game, you are playing multiple cards per turn, where your opponent has just got their 1 draw, and you'll have a lot more ink than them, so you're able to play those multiple cards. If you have 2 of these on your board, you'll find yourself you'll be able to draw 3 cards, including your normal draw, and then you're just going to out advantage your opponent in those long drawn out games. Very, very good card. If you're playing Steel, you should be playing 4 copies of this card. Okay, so that is the deck as a whole. Please give it a go. It's very, very fun, especially with Tinkerbell Giant Fairy. But as always, please stick around, subscribe to the channel, drop us a like, it's always appreciated, and we'll see you for the next one. Bye guys.